Hello, this is J.N.S, and I really want to discuss how Pan-Africanism is a framework that's actually designed to colonize Black Americans. And we're going to be discussing the president of Ghana, his recent remarks about reparations. Now, I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name, but it looks like it's Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. So this is the president of Ghana. He has called for reparations, and I want to address how this is nothing more than the Trojan horse to muddle our reparations claim, and how they're trying to ride the coattail of what Black Americans went through in North America to tie Africa in our shit and try to make this something international. And I'm saying it now, I don't care how it sounds, and I'm going to elaborate and elucidate why, that you do not deserve reparations, Africa, for slavery. You don't deserve reparations for slavery. Now, before we get into that, I want to just actually read what his own words was before we deconstruct this, because I think that's fair for you guys to see. You guys probably may have already heard of this, but let's look at it. So it says, speaking at the Reparations and Racial Hearing Summit on Monday, the president said that the reparations were long overdue and needed to be intensified. Now, this is obviously the president of Ghana. And he says Native Americans have received and continue to receive reparations. Japanese American families who were incarcerated in internment camps in America during World War II received reparations. Jewish people, 6 million of whom perished in the concentration camps of Germany, received reparations, including homeland grants and support. So here we have this president of Ghana bringing up America's past and the way America paid out reparations to obviously the Japanese and the Mongoloid Native Americans. So it's like you see the trick bag, you see the play already in motion with him focusing on America and not so much the British, or I believe that Ghana was colonized by Britain. I believe that, instead of focusing on who Britain has paid or didn't pay, or how they can get something from Britain for theft of maybe resources, but not slavery. But you see the play, and let's see what else he says. So after that, he says, it's time for Africa. 20 millions of whose sons and daughters had their freedoms curtailed and sold into slavery also receive reparations. He says, the slave trade's effects were devastating to the continent, and the diaspora and the entire slavery period stifled Africa's economic, cultural, and psychological progress. No. And you guys know that in 2020, I released the Queen Mothership book detailing how Africans made deals with this white man and took a raw deal that ended up backfiring on them, that ended up getting them enslaved and ended up messing up that entire continent. I already broke that down, and in my last video for like the last 2 years, I've already given y'all the names of almost every West African kingdom that sold slaves, and Ghana in particular, whether it went through its various periods. Now, we know that Ouagadougou was their first empire. I'm pretty sure it's not the first one, because I believe the Akan was doing something before Ouagadougou, before the Suniki people got in there. But that was 300 AD. Then we could fast forward to the Shanti period in 1701. That whole area is known for selling slaves. This notion that y'all deserve reparations is ludicrous, given the fact that you were the curators of slavery, you were the arbiters of slavery. You perfected the craft of selling niggas. This is a fact. You perfected the craft, and we got the proof. And now anybody that, like, if you want to look at that Queen Mothership book from 2020, you will see clearly selling slaves. Even in my last video, I was talking about like and I don't feel like going through that shit. Like, I gotta go pull up some files and go through the kings and the dates and all this shit. I don't feel like doing that shit right now. But every single last one of them were selling slaves. So how dare you fix your mouth to come back and then try to, we deserve this reparations, transatlantic slave trade. Didn't want to bring up how America paid off reparations to previous groups. Oh, you done lost your rabbit mind. We're actually just going to get into some more empirical stuff. I'm not going to be sitting up here and ranting. We're going to get into some actual research. So I want to talk about this brilliant lady. Her name is Sandra Greene. She's, I guess, produced this research through Cornell University. I'm not sure. But she talks about the curious history of slavery in Africa. Now, whether you agree with the institutions or not, this particular lady, Sandra Greene, did this research and curated this, and she talks about how in summary, because we can go through it, we're going to go through a little bit, but I want to just get to the point before we read it. She talks about how Africa fought to keep slavery after it was outlawed and made illegal by the Europeans. Africa was like, oh, no, we got to keep the slave trade going. What are you doing? And Britain is like, look, this is illegal, this is not sustainable, whatever. But they wanted to keep this practice going, and because they were the starters of the practice, and this was just their way of life. And I don't see why they lack that self-reflection that will actually help them get through the dark night of the soul. It will actually help them get through the bullshit they actually going through if they would just self-reflect and do some introspection. But all of this gaslighting and trying to get out the fact that y'all caused all of this, And even if you don't even have research or somebody actually researching this shit, just use your logical damn brain. Logic is going to tell you that ain't nobody just show up in no Africa and taking over no white boy out of a cave and all this stuff that y'all claim. But all of a sudden he knows how to do the okie doke all throughout Africa. No. Somebody taught him. Somebody let him. Somebody worked with him. And that's just logic. And I'll break that down too. We're going to break a lot of shit down. But let's look at this. She says, Greene's research focuses on the history of slavery in West Africa, especially Ghana, where warring political communities in the 18th and 19th centuries enslaved their enemies, and the impact can still be felt today. Slavery in the United States ended in 1865, says Greene, but in West Africa, it was not legally ended until 1875, and then it stretched on unofficially until almost World War I. Slavery continued because many people weren't aware that it had ended, similar to what happened in Texas after the United States Civil War. Boom. So we got that. So clearly you can see that there's some misalignment in your claim, Ghana. So let's see what else she says here. Greene has written a series of books examining the nature of slavery in West Africa, how it operated, and what forms it took. Her latest book, Slave Owners of West Africa, Decision Making in the Age of Abolition, looks at 3 slave owners and their responses to the abolition of slavery in the late 1800s. Each responded in a different way, says Greene, but their responses were not unique to them. I wanted to look for the reasons they did and the long-term consequences of their decisions. So thank you, Miss Sandra Greene, for doing the right thing in academia and telling the truth about how all this shit popped off, because I wrote my shit separate because nobody was really trying to publish. It's just not happening. The stuff I was saying in my book is extremely controversial. But now, look at this. So thank you, Sandra Greene, for getting the truth out, because I was saying this shit, and not just me, but a lot of people who was putting 2 and 2 together, like, nah, y'all niggas ain't telling this history right. Y'all niggas is up here lying about y'all role in this shit. You must have been the former colonizer that made a deal and something bad happened. But don't try to sit up here and tell me that you're the victim now. She talks about slavery by kinship. The history of these 3 slave owners and their slaves show the importance of the origin in West Africa. They didn't have racial slavery, explains Greene. The distinction was and is by kinship. You see how Pan-Africanism will never work? That right there just tell you, Pan-Africanism is dead. People that are very clear about an individual's background, their bloodline. This is just wild. But then this is, again, thank you, Sandra Greene, for publishing this. But this, look at this. What this she look at. She also did a previous book called West African Narratives of Slavery. So this lady, and this was the narratives were from Ghana. So this lady, she was doing the damn thing. And let's see, in one of the narratives, a former slave who was captured in a conflict spoke about his masters. See? And I guess he had to work to pay off the family's debt. He felt betrayed by his own family. Now they explain she admits that the slave spoke about the master in a positive manner. I argue that this colored how he remembered his slave experience. He filtered through every. Oh, we gotta go back. My brain just caught something real quick. The family made him. His own family made him go work for the masters, the other family, to pay off the debt. So it says right here, he felt betrayed by his own family, says Greene. I argue that is how it colored how he remembered his slave experience. Wow. He filtered everything through that earlier abandonment and a betrayal. I don't believe his slave experience was as loving as he claimed. To understand people's experience of slavery and how they talked about it, you have to understand their entire life experience. Wow. And then she talks about how a woman was kidnapped and enslaved just 5. Oh, let's read this, y'all. A woman was kidnapped and enslaved just 5 miles from her hometown, but she was cut off from everyone she had known. She became a slave, though she became the slave wife of a man who had already had 2 free wives. Eventually, her master's husband converted to Christianity and proposed to keep only 1 wife and divorce the other 2. The wife he kept would have to convert to Christianity. The free wives didn't want to convert, says Greene. The slave wife didn't want to either. Oh, I wonder what happened next, y'all. Oh, I think I only took a screenshot of that. I guess I just took that last screenshot, but y'all get the point. Y'all get the point. Clearly, this is how they was doing. This was their way of life. And I told you about the sex trafficking of those women and the overthrow of the Queen Mothership. This was their way of life. So, I need you to explain to me how you could fix your mouth to come and say you deserve reparations. You need to find another word besides reparations if you're going after maybe the exploitation of your resources due to a treaty not being honored. Y'all have plenty of treaties between Africa and the West. So you need to go through each king and his reign, look at the treaties and letters to see what the deal was. That's what you need to do. I've already seen the letters. I already seen this shit. This is what y'all need to go and do and see what was not honored. And that's another word than reparations. That's a deal. That may be a renegotiation of a treaty, or hey, you didn't honor the treaty. That's what y'all need to be doing. But y'all are not getting any reparations tied to slavery. No, you are not. You fought to keep slavery after the European outlawed it. So what are you talking about? At the same time, people in America, you know that my people are fighting for their justice claim, and to me, I just feel like this is trying to muddle the water so you can ride the coattail of the Black American, or find a way to tie your ass back in there. And I'm gonna say this now: we not fighting together for no reparations. You gotta go for the treaties of you and Britain. We not tying ourselves in none of that bullshit. This is their idea of the Pan-Africanism, this parasitic. We gonna fight and you really gonna do all the heavy lifting, but hey, we gonna end up getting in there on it too. This is the Pan-Africanism where they try to force you to identify as them. All this nonsense. And we just don't owe anyone anything. And my thing is, you don't tell the Brazilians or the Trinidadians that they African and all they this and they that. And it doesn't make any sense because the Brazilians, if you look at some of the Brazilian cultures, you can clearly see some of the parallels when, because before the Portuguese got over there in Nigeria and was taking them to Britain, Nigeria was already going back and forth between Brazil and Nigeria. That's like a known thing. And even some families that's over there remember like their history in Brazil. So you could clearly see some of the more cultural ties in Brazil, but y'all not forcing them to say they African, but somehow y'all want to put that on North America when we don't have the same. We don't have nothing compared to like the orishas of how the Brazilians have, or even some of the food is just so similar. We don't have that shit. So what the hell is y'all doing? Like, this is not making any sense. And the reason why this Pan-Africanism framework is pushed so hard on us is because there are apparatus set in place in America that run very, very deep to reclassify Black Americans so that they never identify with the land of North America itself, or do the research to realize that, hey, this could be their land and that they need to be looking at a bigger picture here. This is what this is all about. And I'm going to say this and I'm going to move on from my point because there is something else I want to cover. Is that, as far as like this huge push for Black Americans to identify as an African, I don't know where y'all get off thinking that that's even logical. It's just emotional bullshit. It's just emotional shit with no logic behind it. As far as that obsession, y'all don't want me to go scorch earth on that African pedagogy as a scholar. You don't want me to go in there. I've been very gracious. I told the truth about some of the things in West Africa, and that there is a concerted effort to even hide certain things there as well. But if this keeps going on, I'm going to delete a lot of my old shit about the Ashambo and the Shango calculators and shit, and the Nsibiti writing systems and Nok civilization, all this shit about the terracotta sculptures from 20,000 years ago, all this bullshit, and the iron smelting practices, etc., etc. I will delete all that shit off of my stuff, and I will just start to tell the dark stuff that was going on, and only the crazy stuff. And by the time I'm done, no one, whether they in the Caribbean, whether they in South America, whether they in North America, will be identifying with you by the time I am done. And that's not even to say how much the Black Americans are only awakening from our own ancestors for trying to tell a certain story, that are actually trying to help us fight against ethnocide and getting us to see that it's occurring in multiple dimensions, and it's multifaceted. It is not just the white man involved in this. I'm not saying he's not a factor. What I'm saying is that they can use proxy pawns. It can be a team up. There can be collaboration by people who look like you. You have to look at the whole picture. You can't just harp on one person and then they gonna wise up. The white man done wised up and say, hey, we'll just get motherfucking Africans to play the role, and we'll get them to come do the ethnocide experimentation, and we can kind of back up out of it, and they won't even realize what we've done. So that's what we're dealing with here. And I really want to say, y'all have to stay out of Black Americans' business in terms of the things we're going through with identity, the things we're going through with reparations, and the things we're doing to even put back our whole community together. If y'all can't respect that, and if y'all can't understand that every ethnicity has a right to preserve itself and preserve their prana and preserve their life force energy, if y'all have a problem with that, then I'm just gonna do a whole parallel of running my history, the Black American history, and African history, just run parallels and through the culture, and it will be evident that we are not the same people. Like, what if somebody just covered like just the genocides in Africa alone? Y'all want me to talk about the Tutus and the Hutsis, how 900,000 people were killed in 1 month in Rwanda? There were black folks doing that to each other. You want me to just cover that whole thing and have y'all here looking crazy? No, I didn't do that. My research about Africa is still up, but I do not in this day and time think Black Americans need to watch it or even read it. It's not relevant to Black Americans. Africans are more than welcome, and they do, and they still tell me that they look at that stuff. They can learn a lot from it. But if y'all keep on trying to colonize my people, then I'll just remove everything and just make it my mission to destroy that pedagogy. And it will be easier for me to do that because I am a former Pan-Africanist, for one. It will be easier. I understand scholastic methodology. I understand how to deconstruct illogical arguments and non sequiturs. I know how to construct scholarship from scratch. I'm a theoretician, and I can use the same tools of Western academia as well as my own tools of methodology that are beneficial to my people. So I'm gonna give y'all 6 months to just really get some act right and get y'all shit together when it comes to my people. That's the challenge that I give you. Take 6 months to reprogram your mind and realize that Black Americans don't owe you nothing, and that Black Americans are their own separate group that deserves respect, that is worthy of being on this planet as well, that is worthy of protecting their culture as well, and living on planet Earth in North America. All this other stuff where you're trying to remove them off their land, tell them who they are, try to name them and all this shit. No, them days are done. So you got 6 months to go to rehab, just reprogram your mind and understand that you need to focus on your bloodline. And we got work to do within my own community of understanding identity, of recovering aspects of the self, of learning the value of naming yourself, and all these things. We don't have time to be arguing with your ass. I give you 6 months, and after that, hopefully, because I'm telling you, if you look at some of the stuff that I've already produced out here, I promise you will have some high self-esteem. I promise, because nothing I did was to tear you down. So if you look at some of that old stuff that is for you, and you look at it for yourself and do your own research for your own self, then it'll be good. Because I to be honest, I was brainwashed by all of that stuff. So it is what it is. I have to admit that I was brainwashed by a lot of that Pan-African stuff, so I did a lot of Pan-African research. And the reason why I didn't take it down is because it's relevant to Africa. It's not relevant to North America. If you want to still learn from that, you can. But if you guys are not going to give the respect to the Black American, then I'm going to have to take everything down and go scorch earth on that pedagogy. And it will be extremely easy to do. I'll do it, and you know what? I got some ideas right now. I can do, in addition to just the Hutsis, the Tutsis, and the Hutsis. I could talk about some of the cannibalism. I got a video on that of a man roast another man, eating him. I could talk about, I could focus on that and give the context of how he was portrayed from different tribes and all that. And then I could talk about how y'all did my baby, Thomas Sankara. How y'all did Thomas Sankara. I'm still fuming, and everybody that knows me knows that I love Thomas Sankara. They know that if there was anybody that Kali J.N.S. that a man would have been able to control, that would have been the man. And I say that in jest. I'm joking, but Thomas Sankara, his best friend, worked with France to get him killed. So where was the Pan-Africanism? That was the only real nigga who had to put a plan to action, put y'all first, put y'all on game, wanted so bad to see his people free, loved the Queen Mothership. You want me to talk about that? How people get jealous of other revolutionaries who try to stand up, get jealous of their brilliance, and you kill them, you take them down, help the next puppet, or help the next hegemonic Western government take them down. You want me to bring the truth out about Marcus Garvey? Everybody, I pretty much already know that, but I hear some people still claiming he was the greatest and stuff like that. Oh God, it's like that one would be the easiest, showing his colonizing ass. It's just not a good feeling to know how you can see multiple layers of a Trojan horse, and how it's not just as black and white as we thought, like in the 1960s, it was so much different, but now it's like, it's other weapons that may not even be advertently obvious. It's other stuff that they're using, other people that they're using, other social engineering practices. The system itself is like, everywhere you turn around you see evidence of like a hegemonic dominance over your life. It's like, depending on how intelligent you are, you can see a lot more, but some people, they here to play in the sandbox. They worry about the shit that's necessary for the day, and that they have a right to do that. They're not wrong for that, playing in the sandbox. I didn't come to play in the sandbox, though. I'm not one of those niggas that came to play in the sandbox. I am ordained by the primordial mothers and the dark goddess herself to teach Black Americans and to work with Black Americans so that they can be in a position of global rulership. And so that 1,000 years from now, they still on this goddamn planet. And everybody knows that group was the one that created all the inventions, that did the music, that did the food in North America, that built up America. Yeah, what they're trying to do is swipe the identities. You go over there, they come over here, then all of a sudden they act like they was the Black American. Then you the African. That's why they say, you African. Well, now I come over here, I'm American, I'm naturalized. And hey, I did hip hop, I did. Now imagine 1,000 years from now, we don't check this shit, and then they try to mix us all up. Because the thing is, bring more and more and more over here and mix this up, so the claims and the debt gets weaker and weaker throughout the generations. Now imagine 1,000 years from now, what's going to happen to the Black American? It's only what, 80 million of you? It's 1.3 billion Africans. What are you going to do 1,000 years from now? You're going to be at the bottom of the boot? Or are you going to be in a position of global rulership? Which one do you want? You have to, whatever actions you take now in 2022 and beyond, whatever actions you do today is what's going to determine your bloodline, your role, and your ethnicity 500 years from now, 1,000 years from now. And this is what the primordial mother's been telling my ass. So that is what my job is. The last thing is to restore this Queen Mothership, which is indigenous to North America. So that's the shit that we're going to be working on. The first thing that we have to do is deconstruct the mind of identity. All of this obsession with telling the Black American that you're an African, that you need to go back to Africa, you need to and that shit was working on me. So I'm like, damn, that shit was working on me. I know it was working on plenty of niggas. And the way that they really construct the knowledge power itself, I mean, it is so intricate and it is so subtle, and it's like, damn, like they it's like the social engineering is like, it's quite fascinating once you can see through it. Like once you can see through different dimensions, it's like, it's so easy to just pick shit apart. But if you're not able to, it's like, oh, you're going to get brainwashed. You're going to get brainwashed. And all this obsession with telling the Black American, you're an African. Look, you ain't ever going to be able to tell me that a nigga that look like Nelly. Look at Nelly. Look at the rapper Nelly. And Aaliyah. Go look at Aaliyah. And what's another beautiful black American? Smokey Robinson. Waka Flocka. Yeah, Floyd Mayweather. You ain't never gonna be able to convince me that they African. Look at their face. Like, look at Smokey Robinson. I'm supposed to look at Smokey Robinson. I'm supposed to look at him and tell him he's an African. Look at his face. Look at his hair. Look at that nose. That clearly, what do he look like? What do he look like? Out of your damn mind. Like, we playing games here. Look at Nelly. Look at Nelly's face. What do that look like? Look at Waka Flocka's face. What do he look like? He look like a North American. With him over looking like this, looking like how a traditional West African looks, or how African looks. How do you get off coming over to somebody's place 5,000 miles away in North America and telling them that they African? That's ludicrous. And this is not no slack at, saying, oh, one looks better than the other and one looks better. I'm talking about objectively. Look at Smokey Robinson's face. And then look at, somebody from Ghana, or somebody from Senegal, or somebody from Gabon, somebody from Kenya. Of course, there will be outliers. Of course, you will see people that have Negrotic features by the fact of what necessitates life itself as being the original people on this planet. The fact of having carbon, the fact of melanin, 6 electrons, 6 protons, 6 neutrons. Of course, your motherfucking ass is gonna have some similarity somewhere or the other, but that don't mean we're the same people. We are the first people on the planet. Are you kidding me? Do you even? Even gonna go there. We even gonna go into outer space shit. Y'all are not ready for that. But I'm like, yeah, you're gonna see us, but that don't mean shit. That don't mean that y'all the same. I guarantee you that don't mean that you the same. Now, a lot of people ain't up on to the vibration of what that means, but I promise you, by the time everything is said and done, I will make sure that you guys understand it in a way where nobody feels slighted. Because there's no reason why everybody trying to dog pile on the black American. Yeah, we look alike. Yeah, I look like you. Yeah, we created that music together. Yeah, we did this together. Yeah, about Pan-Africanism. Y'all done lost your rabbit ass mind. Don't you think my people want to be here 2,000 years from now? What the fuck is wrong with y'all? I ain't saying this to be mean, I'm not. So now I want to read, because I gotta really stay focused. I want to read this to you. This is so I guess I was talking with some African online or whatever, but I just want to give you an example of when I say when someone tries to name you that they are actually a colonizer. Because this is the new thing that I need you to get in your mind as a black American, is to see when somebody tries to tell you who you are, you need to see them as a colonizer. Just like when the white man tried to label you Negro and black and African American or whatever, he's the colonizer. You need to do the same thing when anybody come to you. You ain't FBA, you ain't free, then you ain't Indian, you ain't free. What's the other ones they got? ADOS. You ain't that. You're African. I don't care about you trying to name yourself or trying to, you deal with an identity crisis, and you went through so much over there in terms of them making sure that you can't practice your culture, say the name of your tribe, saying that all these things that they've done to you, and making it illegal to even identify as what you really are. We don't care about any of that. You're an African. This is what they say. I don't care about none of that. African. And it's like, do you understand how crazy that is? That's like, you're a colonizer. I'm telling you that based off my genealogy, this is who I am, or based off of building a community of getting under some sort of lineage, or collating or concretizing a culture in a collective sense, so that we can kind of move as a stable body, a stable unit. We come up with our own name for that. And you telling me that, oh no, you can't do that because you have to be an African. That's colonizing. Because it doesn't make if a group is I can't eat this shit and get me so damn worked up. Let's get to the reading. Okay, so the guy says, dissing Africans is divisive. I never diss an African. Without slavery of Africans, we won't be having this conversation. Hugo Weaving, a white man, was born an African, yet his genealogy would trace him to Europe. You don't fucking know. See, this is what we talking about. And whether you are Black American or African American, the fact remains, we are all black. Good God. Help him, Lord. This is colonizing. We are all black. That's why I told you that black shit. Ooh. Black. Just a, that's just how it sounds as they saying it. Niger, these Africans know their tribe and their ethnicity. This guy is a Nigerian. And based off of what I was doing the research of him and his tribe, I mean, his people, they can they have 1,000-year records, and I've seen him. I work with one of them princes over there to kind of figure out some records he was looking at through one of I can't even get into all of that because I don't have like an NDA or nothing, but I don't want to tell people's business. But yeah, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? What the to say you're black? So you say your tribe. Be proud of your tribe that you are. I don't understand that. Like, and I get that everybody's coming out of the whole thing, and even Black Americans are dealing with that, of what to do with that status, and we're bringing more. I mean, me personally, I'm bringing more light to what that means. But it's a battle. But I don't think that anybody who truly knows, or anybody that may be at a certain level of consciousness, they will not, in good faith, go along with that. Even if they are understanding of people's emotional ties to statuses and labels, that's obviously understandable and nothing to be judging. You know what I mean? But those who know, it's like, what's going on here? But that's what this was designed to do, with the black term in general, anyways. But when in terms of him saying that I was dissing Africans, all I was saying was that Black Americans are their own group. How is that dissing the African? Like, this is crazy. Like, saying that someone is a separate ethnicity. So what I said back was, you are a colonizers. These talking points about black and all the same is colonization. You're aiding in the genocide of Black Americans via the erasure of their unique ethnicity, culture, and identity. I will make sure to teach my people how these talking points are deadly. They are deadly, because again, this 1,000-year thing, because I like, when I say the primordial mothers, they show me a lot of things about what's to come and what can be going down. So my diligence and the way I come off is like, okay, why are you obsessing about this ethnocide genocide thing? Because people play a long game with Black Americans, and in the way in our time in this country, it's always been a long game, and it's always been, now it's like it's always an inadvertent attack. Now, obviously back in the day it was much more blatant, but in order to keep this system running, or this corporation on our land, it's kind of like it can't just come out with what they really want to do, which is to exterminate the reparations claim via the people, instead of just pay it out. And those of us who know, we know. But it's other ways, it's other apparatuses to kind of carry out that plan without doing it blatantly, or doing it in a noticeable way. And we see how immigration has been used to weaponize, weaponize against us. We see how crime bills and certain things have been used to weaponize against us. But this black stuff is not as obvious to you as it is to others. So I see that happening. I see I see the Trojan horse. I see that as one. But also, I see how they have used the Pan-Africanism as one. That one is not so blatant either. It's becoming more blatant now, but it wasn't always so blatant. Like 100 years ago, 60 years ago, 50 years ago, people did not see that as like something that could be used to kind of just to do a slow walk of the people from this earth. And then the last one is, using people that look like you. And that to me is a little bit different than the theoretical framework of Pan-Africanism itself, because now that Pan-Africanism framework has been used for the last 60 years, now it's hey, well, we can actually get a group of people that look like you, that are not you, to actually represent you and speak for you, while simultaneously turning a blind eye to the disrespect that they may do to you. And that will be it. It's like, here's your new colonizer. So that's some deep stuff, but I know people don't like to think that deep. But when he's talking about your genealogy traces back to Africa, how come Black Americans are doing their genealogy, their records, and it's tracing back to North America? They're not finding anything that says like what are you talking about? they're gonna find that they were born somewhere in the South. That they for the last 5-10 generations they from probably in the South somewhere. What the hell is you talking about, my nigga? Like, and granted, everybody's record is gonna be different. That's not the point. The point is, every Black American that I talked to, whether they was ADOS, whether they were the Freemen, whether they were FBA, whether they were Indigenous, who had a record or so, or tell me about their genealogy, I don't remember them saying anything. All I heard them talk about was, hey, I saw my people were in Alabama, my people were in Georgia, my people were in North Carolina. And then they go get more detailed. May tell me some things if they found some Europeans, if they found some Indians, if they found things that say black, records that say black, records that say Negro or something like that. Negro, what's another one? Mulatto, color. They tell me that. They tell me that or they tell me a tribe, an actual tribe. I didn't hear nothing about tracing back to Ghana. What in the world? Like, this is the shit we talking about. You really think that a Black American's genealogy records in America is going to tell them that they from Ghana or somewhere? Are you kidding me? So when you see stuff like this, Black American, you are to absolutely say, you are a colonizer. You're trying to tell me who I am. You need to say that to them. Say, that's no different than the white man naming me black, naming me African American, naming me colored, naming me Negro, etc. Now, how come you think it's okay to come 5,000 miles away as an African and trying to tell Black Americans that they African? That's what you need to say. And I'm usually talking to the younger, and I'm 30 years old, but when I don't be trying to like talk at you or nothing like that, I'm thinking like more so for like the 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds that be listening to me. I got people that's 14-year-old in my family that's listening to me. So yeah, I may talk like I'm kind of babying, but out my mind, I be thinking of like, you know, the youth. And it's like, when you see stuff like this, you are to absolutely say, oh no, that's colonizing, you know. So that's what you say. And another thing that you have to say is this: what has Africa done in 500 years for Black Americans to pay homage to you, to identify with you? Now that may be a little extreme, but yo, you know, like I'm be going deep here. What have you done? And then used to say, what benefits do I get out of calling myself African? Like, I don't get it. Like, what have you done where we gotta pay homage? Like, they come acting like we gotta pay homage or something. You know, you get nothing. But look at how much they get from you for saying that you're all black and saying that you're all African. Look how much they got from you, Black American. You didn't get nothing. But they need to swipe the identity again, and they need to place yourself. They need to place themselves in our history. This is what this is about. Just look at the logic here. It's 1.3 billion Africans, and you Black Americans are only 40. There are 80 million of you. Now on record, they're saying 40 million, 40 to 41 million. You know, not everybody is documented as a Black American, obviously, but you are a small group. You're only 3 to 5% of the world's population, even if we did do it at 80 million. Look at that in a global sense. 3 to fucking 5% of the world's population. You happen to be globally recognized. You happen to be everybody's loving everything you do. Your music, enjoying the nice inventions, enjoying the nice food that we have given to the world, our cornbread, our collard greens, our fried chicken, grits. Everybody's munching on that. Seriously. But everybody knows who you are. So the Africans want to be associated with you in North America. Now, if you decide to go for that, I can guarantee you in 500 to 1,000 years from now, you will get moved out of the picture. And when they talk about jazz and hip hop and inventions and cornbread and apple pie, they're going to be acting like they the ones that did it. It's going to be a complete identity swipe if you don't go hard in the paint to preserve your ethnicity in terms of reprogramming the mind and reprogramming the identity. That's all I mean by that. I'm not saying go out and do nothing crazy. All I'm saying is reprogram the mind to see that you are worthy of being on planet Earth, that you're only 3 to 5% of the world's population, and that you need to preserve your culture, preserve your ethnicity, name yourself. You have the right to self-identify. You know? And if I'm being so crazy and if I'm being so dramatic, why do you see all of your Black American heroes being played by Africans and foreigners? Why do you see them talking about reparations claims, speaking for you in politics? Why? Why do you see it? And we ain't even 100 years out of this. Look at this. Oh, this is some deep stuff. And this is the reclassification experiment ongoing. There's multiple people involved now. They want your land, obviously. They want the identity too. And that's the danger of letting people name you. Someone comes to you and say you are an African, you are to say, no, you are a colonizer. And immediately put them in the same category as a white man. Because it's no different than a white man labeling you black in law. Has the same threat, and it's the biggest, this whole Pan-Africanism thing, that's the biggest Trojan horse of ethnocide against the Black American. And besides the blatant racism that the dominant society shows us, they always are going to be in the picture. I'm not saying that the move is off of them and just that's not the case. But what I'm saying is there are multiple people involved now. So you need to think about you being 3 to 5% of the world's population. How are you going to maintain a power position after all of this is said and done when you're outnumbered? So you got to wake up. And I know they have this apparatus of that they built to even try to justify how we all need to see ourselves as African. But when you actually just really break down and go through that whole pedagogy, just go through it, you will see that it's a play. I promise you. And I'm working on stuff and working on deconstructing methodologies and questioning whole epistemologies of academia itself. And when you do that, you have to do it in a way where you're from the inside kind of seeing it. You have to do it from that sense. And it is a process. It's something that you have to kind of present to the public logically, because you can lose people who don't understand how deep the rabbit hole goes in bringing out how this all came to be, in terms of how we get educated and the education system itself, and how you're social engineered to not even think critically but more emotional based. And that's just not Black Americans, that's all Americans, that's everybody that's in this country, or it maybe perhaps even the world, where the way things are programmed is through the emotional space, and not so much where it's just a logic, and you need emotions, you do. I'm not saying that. It has to be balanced. You can't just play to just people's emotions and then make it incentivized where they suspend logic, and critical thinking. They're not properly teaching critical thinking in school anymore. They're not. And when we think about the shit they be telling us, it's like, do y'all even ask the critical thinking questions about all the shit they told us about the slave trades? They told us they found 100 million slaves in the ocean. I swear somebody said it. I swear somebody told me that. It was a guy. He said they found 100 million slaves in the ocean. That's what he told me. He was like, really, he was about to cry and everything. And I'm like, who counted them? I'm like, how was this measured? How did they find 100 million? Where did you even get that number from? Who told you that? There was no lot. And he actually started to think about it. Yeah, I didn't even think about it. Just like they talk about, the door of no return. Slave castle. Oh, there's a door of no return. Come pay your money, Black Americans. You can see where your ancestors came from. The door of no return. You're just going to be emotional. You're going to cry. You're going to be sad. You're going to charge your ass. Lord have mercy. And you're going to come through the door of no... Who built it? Who built that big ass castle? So the white man forced y'all to build the door of no return? No. It was already built. Just like they don't even tell you this. There are multiple slave castles all over Africa. that stand the test of time, that were in existence before that white man stepped over there. It's like Kiwa Kisiwani. This is a pretty big market in modern day Tanzania. This was a slave market. They were trading a lot of things outside of just slaves, but it was built before the white man. It was like, it's literally still there. It's still, you can go and Google Kiwa Kisiwani, you will see it. You can clearly tell that it is a ancient, I guess, what do you call it, architecture. Like, you can see it's still built, and you can clearly see that it's a market. It's built like right off of like a seacoast, you know. They were selling slaves through that market, you know. And the other castles, they have one in Senegal. They have castles with the door of no return is not just in Ghana, but they don't be talking about that. They only talk about that one, you know, and the one in Senegal. Who built them? It's just like, who built the slave boats? Who paid for them? The white man or the Africans? And I'm not saying they didn't exist. I'm just saying why we not deconstructing everything they put in that damn textbook? They told us they packed every slave like the sardines. And one time they was telling us they put 200 per boat. Now it's down to 20 per boat. So what happened? They never talk about how did the white man learn in Africa where to find fresh spring water so that they could store barrels of water for the slaves. And everyone knows you cannot drink salt water. You cannot drink ocean water. Everyone knows this. So the white man showed up in Africa and magically knew where to get the barrels to store fresh spring waters for 200 slaves. Like, this is what we're saying. And it's like, we're not saying that it didn't happen. It's like, okay, now you're admitting when we see the boats for ourselves that it was 20 people per boat. So why did y'all show all them diagrams that was traumatizing as fuck? They have some boats still. Like, it's not many, but we do see, even one body that I was talking to, they told me when they went to go see the slave boat from the transatlantic slave trade, it was like they could only put like 20 people on this boat, 20 to 50 people on this boat. Where did they get off like telling us that they packed it like the sardines and all this stuff? So all I'm saying is, if you deconstruct it logically, I will guarantee that some things is not adding up. It's not a denial of it at all. Absolutely not. But it should be obvious that they leaving out huge chunks of something, that they didn't added something in and took something out, and it's to kind of keep Black Americans, you know, in their emotional days. That's why they always come out with that trauma porn. Always want to show you somebody getting knocked upside their head in slavery and lynched and all this obsession with. Remember they were producing all them slave movies, 12 Years a Slave. What's one? Roots, and they went crazy with the Roots. Remember that one? Everybody thought Roots was their family. Crazy shit like that. That plagiarized story. What else? I mean, this Mad Mandingo, what's the Rosewood, just stuff that be like mad trauma. That's this obsession. 12 Years a Slave, and showing the white people beating up on it, Django and all this crazy stuff. Because it's to always keep you in your emotion based, so you're not really critically thinking. That shit causes a bit of anxiety or causes you to be upset at something, and then you not even thinking, so your logic is already thrown off. And they do this not just with movies. They doing this in the education system. They're doing this and through the religion, through the dogma, through anything that you can think of is being done through your emotions, and they are suppressing humans' ability to critically think. It's even to think for themselves, so they can be easily programmable through social engineering, through what they want to put in your mind, the content they want to put in your mind, the V2, the content. I wrote a whole philosophy system about this, breaking this stuff down so where you can actually be able to choose your own content in your mind and not what they put, you know. Jesus. But you know, like, when you read a lot of that stuff, you can point out some of the illogical loopholes if you're not emotional about it, you know. And when you think of like deconstructing the pedagogy, it's some of my focus right now, and there's ways that I do that, but it's not like something where I'm really trying to destroy something out of spite, you know, because that's not what you do with knowledge. And I'm always warned not to do that, you know, as someone who I know I have a gift in it, but it's not. I feel guilty using knowledge to try to tear something down. It's not ever really my aim. and a lot of, and that's why I always talk about, like, just talk about what you're for rather than what you're against. But you know, so right now I'm working on a material to just build for my community, and producing material that will raise their self-esteem, and as well as my own self-esteem, but the self-esteem of the collective community, as well as preserving culture. Preserving culture is very important, in preserving prana. What is prana? Prana is energy. That's your life force energy. Preserving prana. Black Americans must preserve their prana. So I don't really make it my business to tear down other frameworks, because it distracts, obviously. Unless that's your calling or whatever. That's something, that you feel led to do. In terms of, this obsession with getting Black Americans to say that they're African. And no one's doing that with the Jamaicans. No one's doing that with Trinidadians. No one's doing it with Brazilians. No one's doing it with Dominicans, Puerto Ricans. It's just this small, tiny ass group in North America. Why? Like that reeks of conspiracy. That reeks. Like y'all doing. Sometimes if you go too hard in the paint on something, it make people suspicious, and they're going to start getting real suspicious. Start asking questions. And to be honest, that's what made me start really questioning that Pan-African shit. Even when I was doing the Pan-African scholar stuff, and when I was thinking about Africa and all this stuff, it really, like, the way they were pushing it didn't feel right in my spirit, especially with that year of return. If you notice, that year of return in 2019, and then it was actually it was like a bill that was introduced. I forgot the name of the bill, but it was a bill. Oh man, I gotta look this up for y'all. I gotta actually look this up for y'all. Okay, I found it. So this was HR 1242, 115th Congress, I believe. Yeah, it was passed in 2018. This was one of them, but there was another one. This one is not it, but this one made me suspicious too. This 400 Years of African. Yeah, this one was 400 Years of African American History Commission Act. This is not the one I'm talking about, though. Damn, it's another one. This is one of them, but there was another one where it was just like, what? It literally had something to do with the year of return in Ghana. Like, it was a bill for that, but it was not worded as year of return. The year of return was mentioned, but it was something relating to Africa and for Black Americans, though. And that's when I said something not fitting right in my soul about all this. Like, it feels like once I see the dominant society like promote something so hard, it's kind of like, like they just was promoting that shit so hard. Then Black Panther came out, and I think they spent like $1 billion on that, like in America alone. Like, to me, it just was like they pushing this, and then they started pushing that Afro beats over here, and Black Americans started making that popular. And I'm like, it's like, why are y'all going so hard for, what is the deal here? And that's what kind of spurred me into really doing the research. And I found out about, at that point, I believe people were just talking about the reparations claim, and different things, different dialogues and narratives of history was being proposed. And it wasn't the first time I'd heard it, but it was interesting stuff. And people in Buffalo, honestly, they threw it out there. They would throw it out there, but it wasn't as popular in terms of questioning, like, why are they pushing this shit so hard on us? Like, Pan-Africanism not helping us, like it just reeks of conspiracy. Again, like, the whole thing is just not normal. It's really not. And we don't have to share our culture. We don't have to share our gifts. We don't have to share history with anyone outside of North America. We really literally don't have to do that. We don't have to do that. Those days are gone. And this other thing that people do, the game that they run on a Black American, is try to run parallels between commonplace similarities. And I'll give an example. One is where they say, hey, we got a drum, you got a drum. See, we see, we're all the same, because we all got a drum. Like, it's like, you want us to credit y'all for just very basic shit. Like, the Chinese got a drum that's about 6,000 years old. The East Asian, not the East, the South Asians got drums. The people in Australia have been banging their drum for a minute. What would make you think that you need, like, that now we are the same because a human decided to go get a tree, cut it, get some animal hide somewhere, and construct a damn drum and bang it. That doesn't mean that we owe you credit for that, or we the same because of that. That doesn't mean anything. Just like when they try to point out a similarity between like something real simple, like to me it's like that doesn't. So what? Like it's illogical, and everything is meant to play on the emotions and not your logical self. And I'm like, no, don't fall for that. Stop falling for that. And we've suffered so much as Black Americans. We suffered so much. So, and nobody came to the rescue. So it's like, what makes you think you could come back like somebody owe you something? Like, I just don't like how they just got this nerve to make it seem like we gotta pay homage, or every little thing we've done, we gotta give some type of credit to them. No, it don't work that way. It just does not work that way. And the next play is that they're going to be trying to push a lot of because the play was to do the stuff with the African, and that one it's falling apart before they very eyes. So that social engineering tactic, they're going to start to pivot a bit and bring in this Latino stuff on us. They pretty much want to water down the claim, so the future can stop harping on reparations and land and being indigenous. Like, it's pretty much like a slow, it's like what they feel is an ethical way to kind of exterminate a people. And so they can't use the Africans because that one became so obvious, like in terms of like the difference in cultures and the difference in tribe. This that tribalism, like they couldn't get it beyond that. They came over here popping shit. They came over here hateful. They came over here acting a fool, and it's like, nah, I don't even want to be bothered with that. Like, so it's like, well, let's see, that, as far as like their blatant shenanigans, let's see if we can see if they'll fall for the Latino stuff. We don't really have much of a history with them, so I don't see that working out either. But it's just to mix and mix people up, and but you have to watch the play because it's, I don't know what it's about, the watering down, the reclassification, but I'm seeing a pivot. If I am correct on this, and maybe I'm not, you're going to see a pivot to kind of like, okay, that group of people is not going to work. So we're going to have to try to do this Latina. And that, you see all that falling apart already, because we don't really have, especially if you're going to do the Mexicans, it's not like we have great rapport with them either. We don't have great rapport with anyone when you think about it, so no one's going to work. No, try to mix us up with somebody and get the reclassification experiment 2.0 is going to be harder, with any group of people, because we can see with our damn logical mind that no one has had our back, that nobody really was giving a damn, so it's like the play. I don't know what they got. I don't know. I don't even want to get too hard on their little social engineering psyop shit. But yeah, all I'm going to say to you, Black Americans, please do not be guilt tripped into following the Pan-Africanism framework. And it is a Trojan horse for continued ethnocide of Black Americans, and because in 120 years you should have been able to see what that framework has produced. Something about it would have been tangible by now, whether it's globally or just in America alone, but specifically how it benefits you as a Black American. You can see how it benefits the diaspora via their ability to speak for you now in politics, cosplay your identity, act like they're you in these institutions, come to the country itself. After the 1924 John Reed Act was turned over, obviously with the advent of the Civil Rights Act, and that's when the John Reed Act got abolished, which put a quota on non-Europeans, and particularly Asia and Africa. So we see that, but you can only point to how it benefits them. You can't do it the other way around. So how is that fair? How is that logical? No, it's just some emotional stuff. Oh, you came from here, and you come back, you're gonna go through the door of no return. We're gonna get you a piece of land, and you're gonna end up like them two baby girls, and they were older than me, right? Rest their soul. The two sisters from Detroit, and end up, Lord have mercy, two beautiful women spent their whole life doing the Pan-Africanism thing, They finally get a chance to go over. I think they were in 75. Finally get a chance to go over, get a land, got the land legally and everything. And that tribe, the other tribe said no. And they went to court, and even the government ruled in the Black Americans' favor and said that this is their land. They bought it fair and square. The tribe that was there for them hundreds of years, they said fuck out of here. No. And they went, beat them ladies, and then buried them about it was either 300 miles or 87 or 300. It didn't, information overload, but about 300 miles away from their land. So you keep being emotional all you want. You keep being an emotional fool. And fall for this, and I'm not calling them ladies that. I get it. We were all talking as but that's what they do. That's how the framework is designed. It's not a logical framework. I promise you, it's not. Everything is. This is what the white man did to you. This is what they have done, and yes, they have done. Oh yeah. So that's automatically going to get your emotions in, because it's not like that's not true. It's not like they off the hook or anything. But it's like once they start saying that, it's like, see what he did to you. Come to Africa. You're an African. We all gotta stick together. And it's like, no, you a nigga that was in on this. You did it too. You in on this, and you capable of doing it again. So I don't care about none of that. I don't care about because you see my skin and you see your skin and all this stuff. No, that don't mean nothing. And when you look at when they talk about, when you break down this Pan-Africanism thing, you don't see where in a history where they was aligning based off of race. They delineate based off ethnicity. Hence, there are thousands of tribes. What they got? 3,000 tribes. They are delineating on their ethnicity. So why do they take issue with the Black American who is 5,000 miles away, just completely on a whole nother landmass? What is wrong with y'all? Why they got a problem when you're delineating? Even today, they don't even unite on that continent. You see what they're doing, how they're carrying on today. We don't even have to go back 200 years, 500 years ago you did this, 60 years ago you did this, you in the 90s you had the genocide. No, you just look right now in 2022. And that's what I'm saying. Like when they deflect everything to that white man and white supremacy, that's the second guilt trip tactic. And that's the most effective one, because it's like you got a bunch of evidence to say, okay, yeah, you're already upset, you're already mad. So it's like when they come and say, see, we gotta unite and fight that, and it's like, yeah, but it's like here you ought to go face this white man, and next thing you know, you gasping for air because the African stabbed you in the damn back on your way to go get him. That's what the hell is gonna happen. I promise you. Oh, I promise you. So it's like, no. When we was going through all this nonsense, where was any black nation? So, quote unquote, where was any diaspora that was actively, helping us fight this beast? Where was y'all at? Like, really? Because moving to a Western country and being rude to the locals, is that your way of fighting the white man? When you say that we need to unite to fight white supremacy, that Pan-Africanism is unite to fight white supremacy. That's what you told me. That's what you told my people. So if that's true, where's your action? Okay, so only one group does, only 5% of the world's population does all the, hell no. They the only ones doing the lifting. So where were you? So your definition of fighting white supremacy was to migrate from Africa to other countries, and then be rude to the locals, the local black people, the locals indigenous of their country. That's what the Pan-Africanism is. No. Where's the grandiose fight that you putting up, telling me that we need to go united? You lead the charge. It's 1.3 billion of you. You lead the charge. And my people only what? It's only 40 million, 80 million. You go and lead that charge then. Nothing. We get nothing out of this. Again, it's just more emotional bullshit that does not align with reality. That does not align with logic. Now they want to bring up their oppressor. But you align with them every chance you get. You align with them against us every chance you get. And I broke that down in a address and delineation video, how how you align with them, and how your definition of Pan-Africanism, your definition of uniting is really is non-existent. And so a lot of this shit just be lip service. Again, everything is to play on your damn emotions. It's the we all black, we all the same, when they don't care about them. Come on, we looking at you. Come on, like, stop running game. My thing is, don't be trying to run game on me and my people. You know, when you telling me with your, because people will tell you what they actions, what they about. People tell you what they actions. So what do we see? Migration is your action. Migration is your solution to fighting white supremacy. Migration to the Western countries that you claim is doing all this stuff in your country. So if Pan-Africanism is the solution, we wouldn't be globally in this position. So this framework in 120 years was created in the United States. So if you got it, and if the diaspora, so now that we say we delineating, now you tell me, hey, we must unite so we can fight white supremacy. If you truly believe that, and I don't think you do, but if you truly believe that, and you had a sudden epiphany that you need to fight, it's been 500 fucking years, but if you've got this grandiose epiphany, then get to fighting. Don't try to use my people as cannon fodder. Don't try to get us in a line of fire so you can go ride in on the Trojan horse. You get us doing all the fighting and getting knocked up, getting the frame torn out our ass. We don't exist no more on planet Earth, and you get to walk right in and replace. You think you gonna really put up a fight after we don't put up the fight and get knocked out, and then you coming in and you gonna do your part? No, hell no. You gotta fight first. You get out there and do what you said you claiming that you want us to do. This is ridiculous. Get to doing what you need to do in your own respective nation. And tried. What is you up here trying to convince my people to put themselves on the line of fire, straight as the sacrifice? Hell no, the sacrificial lamb around here, so that, and then you tricking us. You think we really believe that? No, we don't believe that. Soon as whatever happened to us happens, you gonna come and say, look at that god, look at that nigga, and then you gonna come right in and talk about, you see, we created hip hop, don't you? Oh no, you gonna be coming in and talk about you created hip hop and we did the jazz and see the dust and That's a play, man. That's a play if I ever saw. That's some cold pimping that they trying to do. But I'm glad that it's not people not falling for it, you know. But I'm saying, if y'all got that epiphany, then you lead the way. Because my people, we've already had the history of fighting. We already getting sprayed with hose, bit with dogs and shit. People getting lynched, getting bombed, all types of crazy ass shit, getting red line, all types of stuff. So if you sit over here comfortably over in America now, and you have that right, then you call yourself looking down and disrespecting Black Americans, and then we call you out. Don't try to gaslight somebody and try to run game. Talking about no, we need to unite because we got the white man. You sitting your ass playing video games and shit in America, talking about some white man, and you from Africa. No, you know. So, but you know, just to make it more common, to bring it down, you know, you as a group of people that's 5,000 miles away, you have to understand that, you know, what it means for my people to be 3 to 5% of the world's population, and already in a very unique, intricate, vulnerable position. And when you say that, you know, we need, so when you try to tell somebody who they are, you need to call yourself African and all this stuff, that's like asking somebody that they got to erase their identity, they got to erase their unique culture. Like, they don't have to do that for you. And then you claim that if we are united, then you can look out for us, and that you can be leveraged together and stuff. What position? You're not in a position of power to aid us collectively, maybe individually, but when are you coming to, like, come on, like, that's not even like realistic. So we need this delineation. We need to assess our organizing ability. We need to do things for ourselves. As far as this Pan-African stuff, when you don't study history, like the proper way, or through the lens through what the education system in America, how the way they put it out in front of you, their methodology. When you study it through that sense, you can't truly assess what mistakes were made, what truly even happened that got us in that situation. But then you're not able to properly strategize either, I would say. And in Pan-Africanism, we know the citadel of the West, that's their born creation. I don't even think that's a Black American creation. It's definitely not an African one, but I think it's some Caribbean, they say somebody named Martin Delaney and some other people. I don't know. But they say, as far as the framework itself, that comes from America. That's why it doesn't have much logic in it. And that's why it's not a solution, because that is not a strategy to tell Black people globally outside of other places that they are African and that they should go back to Africa and that they should unite based on skin color. That is actually a very poor strategy of getting power. I don't see how y'all can't see that. That is a stupid ass strategy, in fact. So that's why it was given to you by the West. That's why they created it. That's why it's an American construct. It's an American construct. Like, no matter how, like, I'm saying, like, just from an academic sense, like, and there are more succinct strategies. There's actually more, like, that could be created by you melanated people for their specific landmass and tribe. Like I've talked about that in that delineating video, like, just very quickly. It was very just off the dome, you know, but, you know, I'm sure if someone listened to that and they was really serious, they could probably really put that into action. But as far as the specific, as far as, you know, like, these strategies and these frameworks, I mean, what you guys do is you confuse the two. You think that a theoretical framework can be used as a strategy or as an action, like an action plan. You do that all the time, and they do that purposely. I noticed that with a lot of theories in academia. They do that. Say, for instance, that intersectionality stuff. Like, that's a framework. That's not a strategy. And it's just intellectual masturbation at the end. That's pretty much what all that stuff is. If it's not in 120 years, if you can't see, you know, the actual benefits of a theoretical framework, then someone has to come and build a strategy in it, or come up with something new. That's what you would have to do. But you cannot try to take ideology or a concept and say that that's an action plan. Like, you can't do that with none of that stuff. But a lot of that stuff that gets pushed down from the top down, it's by design. That's by design. You can't take that from you can't really do much with that. And that's not just with Pan-Africanism. That's with, like, a bunch of stuff that I'm noticing. That's why I'm like, whoa. Like, it's like, huh? it is what it is. But yeah, the Citadel gives you that. So what I want you to leave with is that there are more succinct ways to do that. Like, I'm not saying don't come up with a strategy, or don't work together, or don't unite. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that that's not going to work. You're going to need something much, much deeper. And it's most likely it has to be some plan behind that as well. And I know that the person that sticks up to do that, then they got a target on the back. So then it's like, are you gonna do it or not? You know, let's see. Another issue that I see that's causing a lot of the rifts between the Africans and the Black Americans is that you Africans have a lack of self-reflection on that continent. And anytime we point out what you could have been doing that contributed to your own situation, or to the things that your inaction or whatever, then it's this deflection to the colonization. Then you tell us a sob story trying to, force, the identity thing on us after voluntarily migrating to a racist country. And then trying to say, hey, well, why don't you go back to Africa? So again, that's not a strategy that anybody should subscribe to. That's not a strategy that any Black American should subscribe to. So what I do want to say is that, when we see you all divided over there with your 3,000 tribes, your 9,000 languages, and then you looking at a group of people 5,000 miles away trying to force your identity on them, or have these puppets for trying to get us to label us African and all this stuff, it's more important for Africa to come to the aid of other African countries at this time. I know you guys keep saying like we can come to your aid and we'll do this and we'll do that. You haven't came to the aid in 500 years, so I just don't see like what will make you think that we need. I don't know. It's just I don't see the evidence. I'm not saying we don't. I just don't see the evidence of it in history, and I don't know what that would look like. I don't know how harmful it would be for my people to just go along with this whole thing that we need y'all in our fight. I'm not necessarily convinced of that, because I don't really see much of it throughout history. Certainly not when slavery, Jim Crow. I don't see much effort or fight or aiding or investment. I don't see any of that. And that's why I say, like, a lot of people are very emotional when it comes to these conversations, and that's why we go in circles when we have these conversations, because to be honest, Black Americans are getting more logical and when it comes to this type of thing, and realizing like what you're asking us is not making any sense. And then people are trying to guilt trip us into being emotional again, and trying to just get us to turn a blind eye and just go along with them, and we are underestimating how your bloodline your bloodline, your history, your culture, and your environment affects your mindset. That's why we even think the same, and I'm not convinced that we need to really be engaging with other people when it comes to matters of survival and preserving our ethnicity. As harsh as it sounds, but I just think like a lot of times when we are trying to come up with the solutions or trying to argue for Pan-Africanism, it is very childish, and it's not reminiscent. I mean, at 120 years, it's like y'all should have came up with something better by now. And I don't see a point in aligning with something with zero strategy that sounds childish to me. That sounds just like emotional babble and not and not in depth. So I don't think that we need to be following that. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say. I really just thought it was crazy reading that article about that president, and I'm thinking like, what reparations are you due? Like, are you kidding me? So I mean, if y'all want, I guess, to get something from Britain for exploiting your resources, that's a renegotiation of a contract, of a treaty or something. That's not reparations, because you made those deals, so you have to go back and I guess fix it. But like trying to bring up American reparations and America stuff, like no, leave us out of that. And yeah, Pan-Africanism is definitely dead. It's definitely a theoretical framework that has not proven to be effective strategy. And there's, in fact, no strategy outside of just saying we are all black and we all need to fight the white man. Meanwhile, everybody's fighting like cats and dogs over on that continent and has a history of fighting like cats and dogs for the last 500 years to 1,000 years. So we don't see any evidence of this, but yet everybody's harping on Black Americans to say that they're African, when no one else in the world is being pressured to do that, like the Brazilians, the Trinidadians, the Dominicans. No one else is being pressured to do that but just Black Americans on their own landmass of North America. It is a play. It's a play to get you off of this land. And we're calling it out. We're realizing we have the right to self-identify. We're realizing that we are not going to be ethnocided and genocided, that we will be here 1,000 years from now, and we will get the credit for everything we have done and contributed to this world. So that's what this is about. Like, what is y'all doing? And we are going to take a stand against any attempts to get us to identify with anything other than what we want to identify with. That's where the youth is going. That is where the spirit is going. That is what our ancestors want for us. Our ancestors want for us to live in peace and harmony. I just channeled right now. Whew, I got out of it. There's a thing where, like, it's a channeling, it's a download. That was a huge download. I don't even remember what I said. Whew. Let me snap out of this. I know you guys never really see that side of me, but I am a spiritual intuitive, so I get downloads and stuff just come out. But I'll end it there. I think I got my point across. And I love y'all. And even Africa, you know, I truly wish y'all the best with all my heart. I hope y'all get it together over there. I want to see y'all thriving over there too, just like I want to see Black Americans thriving in North America and in positions of global power and rulership in the years to come. So that's what we on. We on the Queen Mothership. We on getting my people recognized and continue to get the things that they deserve. And we're going to transcend consciousness. And I'm gonna talk to y'all later. I love y'all. Bye.